My aunt at the daycare tapped, "Take the quiet one today," in Morse code before kids disappeared for special learning time. So I faked being stupid until I had proof. Now 43 victims have justice, and my aunt is serving life. The 911 operator answered on the second ring. My voice cracked as I tried to explain what I'd found. Margaret must have sensed something was wrong because she started walking toward me, her fingers tapping against her thigh. I quickly shoved the camera back in the bag and stood up, forcing a bright smile. "Just checking on Emma," I chirped, my heart hammering so hard I thought it might burst through my chest. Margaret's eyes narrowed, but before she could respond, the front door burst open. Two police officers walked in, responding to my call. Parents picking up their kids stopped and stared. Margaret immediately switched into concerned caretaker mode, her face a mask of worry. "Officers, what's wrong? Is everything okay?" She rushed over to them, positioning herself between them and the back room where Mr. Roll had taken the children. I pointed at the camera bag with shaking hands. "The evidence is in there. Photos of children. Terrible photos." Margaret's face went pale for a split second before she composed herself. "Oh my goodness, what is she talking about?" She turned to the officers, pulling out her wallet to show them her licenses and certifications. The walls were covered with awards and thank you letters from parents. "I've run this daycare for 15 years. Never had a single complaint." Mr. Roll emerged from the bathroom, straightening his tie. He pulled out business cards from his pocket, handing them to the officers with steady hands. "I'm a licensed children's photographer. Been doing school photos for 20 years. This young woman burst in during our session and scared the children." The officers looked between us. The taller one examined the business card while the shorter one turned to me. "Miss, we need probable cause to search someone's property without their consent. Did you actually see inappropriate photos?" My mouth went dry. "Yes, I saw them on the camera. Just look. She's been having a hard time lately," Margaret said softly, her fingers tapping against her leg in Morse code. "Stupid girl. Her boyfriend just broke up with her. Lives right next door to her family. It's been very difficult." Parents had started arriving for afternoon pickup, clustering near the entrance and whispering. Some pulled out their phones. Margaret walked over to comfort them, explaining there had been a misunderstanding, while her fingers continued their silent message. "Ma'am, we can't just search the camera without a warrant," the taller officer explained. "If you'd like to file a formal complaint, you can come down to the station." My phone, which had been working perfectly 5 minutes ago, suddenly went black, dead. I pressed the power button frantically. Nothing. The photos I'd taken were trapped inside. "See? She's clearly upset about something," Margaret said, rubbing a mother's shoulder reassuringly. "Poor dear. I've been trying to help her through this difficult time." The officers left after taking my information and telling me to come file a report. Parents collected their children, shooting me suspicious glances. Margaret stood by the door, waving goodbye to each family, her fingers never stopping their coded insults. That evening, my phone buzzed back to life. A text from Margaret waited for me. "Your services are no longer needed at Little Lambs. Your final check will be mailed." I tried to access the photos I'd taken, but they were gone. Every single one. My iCloud had been wiped clean. Even my deleted folder was empty. My roommate mentioned her new boyfriend worked at a phone repair shop. His name was Kelly, and he'd been asking a lot of questions about me. The next morning, I woke up to find my face all over the local Facebook groups. "Unstable employee makes false accusations against beloved daycare owner." The post had hundreds of comments from parents praising Margaret and calling me attention-seeking. Some suggested I needed mental help. My mother called within the hour. "What were you thinking?" she demanded. "Margaret is my sister. She's devoted her life to helping children. How could you do this to our family?" I tried to explain what I'd seen, but she cut me off. "You've always been jealous of her success. First you can't keep a boyfriend, now you're trying to destroy her business? I'm ashamed of you." The line went dead. My own mother had chosen her sister over me. Over the next few days, my life unraveled. Parents who'd once thanked me for caring for their children now crossed the street to avoid me. The grocery store clerk who used to chat with me barely made eye contact. My landlord mentioned he'd been getting calls about me being unstable. Then things escalated. I came home from a failed job interview to find my car listing to one side. All 4 tires had been slashed. A note tucked under the windshield wiper made my blood run cold. Written in neat handwriting were dots and dashes. Morse code. Stop or else. I started seeing Margaret's car in my apartment complex parking lot. She'd sit there for hours, just watching my building. When I tried to take photos for evidence, my phone would mysteriously glitch. 2 weeks after being fired, I was buying groceries with my dwindling savings when someone tapped my shoulder. A woman about my age stood there holding hands with a little girl. It was Lauren, Emma's mother. "Can we talk?" she whispered, glancing around nervously. "Not here. The coffee shop on 5th Street in an hour?" I almost didn't go. Trust had become a luxury I couldn't afford, but something in her eyes made me take the risk. Lauren sat in the back corner, Emma coloring quietly beside her. "Emma hasn't spoken since picture day," she said without preamble. "She's always been nonverbal, but she used to babble, make sounds. Now, nothing." "I'm so sorry," I started, but she held up her hand. "My older son Tyler is in Boy Scouts. He knows Morse code." She pulled out her phone, showing me a video. Emma was tapping on the table. "She's been doing this constantly." My hands trembled as I watched. The pattern was unmistakable. "Help me." Over and over. "Help me." "I believe you," Lauren said quietly. "About what you saw. Emma won't let anyone touch her camera. Screams if we try to take family photos." We met secretly over the next few days. Lauren introduced me to other parents who'd noticed changes in their children. Jaden's grandmother had found unexplained bruising, but was told he falls a lot due to his condition. Maria's teenage sister Maya, who worked at Best Buy, helped me recover some cached photos from my phone's memory. 3 former daycare employees reached out through Lauren. They'd seen things too, but were too scared to speak up. Margaret had connections everywhere. One had tried to report her years ago and ended up losing her childcare license on fabricated charges. We discovered Margaret had worked at 2 other daycares under slightly different names. Each time, she'd left suddenly after misunderstandings. The pattern was always the same. Beloved caretaker, specialized in special needs children, charged below market rates. Then children would start acting strange, and anyone who asked questions would face ruin. Mr. Roll's real name was was Gary. He was Margaret's cousin from out of state. The photography business was fake, but he was good at covering his tracks. They'd been doing this for years. Our little group grew. Parents who'd pulled their children shared stories. Former employees provided dates and details. Maya set up encrypted cloud storage that auto-uploaded everything we found. We were building a case, but we needed solid evidence. Then Margaret made a mistake. She announced another picture day. She's getting rid of evidence, one of the former employees said. She always does a final session before moving on. We had one chance. Lauren sewed a tiny camera into Emma's favorite teddy bear. Maya programmed it to upload directly to our secure server. Tyler created fake memory cards filled with innocuous family photos. The night before picture day, I met with our group one last time. We went over the plan until everyone knew their role. I'd show up at the daycare claiming I'd left something important. While Margaret was distracted, Tyler would swap the memory cards in Gary's camera. I barely slept. Every sound made me jump. Margaret's car had been parked outside my building all week. Picture day arrived gray and drizzling. I sat in my car outside Little Lambs, hands shaking. Lauren texted that Emma was inside with her camera bear. Tyler was in position, pretending to wait for his scout meeting at the community center next door. I walked to the door, my legs feeling like jelly. Through the window, I could see Gary setting up his equipment. Margaret was arranging children for group photos. My hand hovered over the doorknob. This was it. Everything we'd worked for came down to the next few minutes. I pushed open the door, plastering on my brightest, dumbest smile. Hi, Margaret. I'm so sorry to bother you, but I think I left my grandmother's necklace in the break room. It's really important to me. Can I just quickly check? Margaret's fingers started tapping immediately, but I was ready for her now. I knew what she was, and today, we were going to stop her. Margaret's eyes flicked between me and the break room door. Her fingers drummed against her thigh. Nice try. She forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Of course, dear, but make it quick. We're about to start individual portraits. I hurried past her, my sneakers squeaking on the linoleum. Through the window, I caught Tyler's eye. He gave a subtle nod. Phase 1 was in motion. The break room smelled like stale coffee and disinfectant. I made a show of searching through drawers, checking under tables. My hands shook as I knocked over a stack of paper cups. The crash echoed through the daycare. Everything okay back there? Margaret called out, her voice syrupy sweet. Just clumsy me, I responded, channeling every ounce of ditzy energy I could muster. Through the doorway, I watched Tyler slip through the front entrance. He held a juice box, pretending to be lost. Excuse me, Tyler said to Gary, who was adjusting his camera settings. Is this where the scout meeting is? My mom said it was next door, but I can't find it. Gary barely glanced up. Community center's that way, kid. He waved vaguely toward the wall. Tyler took a step closer, stumbling slightly. The juice box flew from his hand, spraying sticky apple juice across Gary's camera bag and equipment. Gary jumped back, cursing under his breath. I'm so sorry. Tyler grabbed napkins from the snack table, dabbing at the mess, while Gary snatched paper towels from the bathroom. Tyler's nimble fingers found the memory card slot. In seconds, he'd swapped the cards. Margaret's head snapped toward the commotion. Her fingers moved rapidly. Something's wrong. She started walking toward Tyler, but I emerged from the break room, holding up an old keychain I'd planted there weeks ago. Found it, I announced loudly. Silly me, it was in my old cubby the whole time. Margaret's attention split between Tyler and me. Tyler was already backing toward the door, apologizing profusely. Gary returned with paper towels, muttering about sticky-fingered kids. Well, I'll just be going then, I said, edging toward the exit. Margaret's hand shot out, gripping my wrist. Her fingers were ice cold. Actually, since you're here, why don't you help with picture day? We could use an extra pair of hands. Her grip tightened. The message her other hand tapped was clear. You're not leaving. Oh, I couldn't. I have a job interview in 20 minutes. I tried to pull away, but her hold was surprisingly strong. Nonsense. The children miss you. She steered me toward the main room where parents were dropping off their kids. Look how happy they are to see you. Several children did perk up when they saw me. Little Jaden toddled over, arms outstretched. My heart clenched. These innocent babies had no idea what was happening around them. Margaret released my wrist but positioned herself between me and the door. Gary finished cleaning his equipment and began setting up backdrop screens. Parents filtered out, waving goodbye to their children. Lauren lingered, adjusting Emma's hair. Emma clutched her teddy bear tight against her chest. First group photo, Margaret announced, clapping her hands. The sound was sharp, like breaking glass. She arranged the children in rows, her fingers constantly moving. Watch her. Don't let her leave. I helped position the younger children, my mind racing. Tyler had completed his part, but now I was trapped. Through the window, I could see him texting furiously on his phone. Lauren caught my eye and mouthed, "Stay calm." Gary snapped several group photos, his professional mask firmly in place. Then came the part I'd been dreading. Individual portraits now. Let's start with the little ones. Margaret selected 3 children seemingly at random, but I knew better. These were the same kids she'd been tapping about for weeks. The quiet ones. The ones whose parents worked long hours and rarely asked questions. I'll help with hair and clothes adjustments, Margaret said, leading them toward the back room. My stomach lurched. Actually, I'm pretty good with hair, I interjected, stepping forward. Remember how the parents always loved when I did the girls' braids? Margaret's smile turned razor sharp. How thoughtful, but you can help by keeping the other children occupied. We wouldn't want any disruptions. She ushered the 3 children down the hallway. Gary followed with his equipment. I watched them disappear into the back room, my heart pounding. Emma's teddy bear camera would capture whatever happened next, but could those children wait for evidence to upload? I turned to the remaining kids, trying to keep my voice steady. Who wants to play a game while we wait our turn? For the next 15 minutes, I led them in Duck Duck Goose, my ears straining for any sounds from the back room. The children giggled and played, oblivious. Emma sat apart, rocking slightly, her fingers tapping against her bear. Scared, scared, scared. When the back room door opened, the 3 children who emerged looked different, subdued. One little girl who usually chattered nonstop walked silently to the reading corner and curled into a ball. Next group, Gary announced, already selecting more children. This continued for an hour. Groups of 3 or 4 children would disappear into the back room. They'd return quieter, smaller somehow. Margaret's fingers never stopped moving. Almost done. Then we deal with her. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Get out now. She knows. I glanced up to find Margaret staring at me. Her expression hadn't changed, but something in her eyes made my blood freeze. She walked over, her heels clicking ominously on the floor. "You've been so helpful today," she said, loud enough for the remaining parents to hear. "Why don't you take a break? Get some fresh air?" It wasn't a suggestion. She steered me toward the door, her fingers digging into my elbow. We stepped onto the front porch. The drizzle had turned into steady rain. "I know what you did," she whispered, her breath hot against my ear. "Tyler's little performance, the camera in Emma's bear. Did you really think I was that stupid?" My throat constricted. "I don't know what you're talking about." She laughed, a sound like breaking china. "The memory cards he swapped? Blank. I always keep the real ones on me." She patted her pocket. "But Emma's bear? That was clever. Too bad the camera's been transmitting to a dead server for the past hour." The door behind us opened. Kelly stepped out, my roommate's phone in his hand. "Signal jammer's working perfectly. Nothing's getting uploaded today." "You see," Margaret continued, "I've been doing this for 15 years. You're not the first bleeding heart to try playing hero. You won't be the last. Those children trust you," I managed to say through gritted teeth. "Those children are defective." She tapped the word out as she spoke it. "Their parents pay me to babysit their burdens. I provide a service. Gary documents it. Everyone wins. You're sick. I'm practical." She released my elbow and stepped back. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave. You're going to forget what you think you saw. You're going to move out of town. Tonight." "Or what?" Kelly held up my roommate's phone, showing me a video. Me entering the daycare after hours with a key I'd copied. Me accessing Margaret's computer. Me taking photos of completely innocent financial documents that could easily be edited to look incriminating. "Amazing what security cameras catch," Margaret said. "Breaking and entering, corporate espionage, identity theft, your fingerprints on everything. Kelly's been busy building quite a case against you. No one will believe that. They believed you were unstable. They believed you made false accusations. They'll believe this too." She leaned closer. "Or we can skip the legal drama. Accidents happen, cars crash, people disappear." The threat hung between us like a physical thing. Through the window, I could see Gary photographing the last group of children. Emma was among them, clutching her bear. "Choose," Margaret said. "Leave town tonight or things get messy." I thought about Lauren waiting at the coffee shop, Tyler monitoring the fake server, Maya ready to recover whatever data she could. Our entire plan crumbling. "Okay," I whispered. "I'll go." Margaret smiled, satisfied. "Smart girl. Kelly will escort you to pack. You have 2 hours." I turned to leave, then stopped. Why Morse code? Why tap out your real thoughts? For a moment, her mask slipped. Because no one listens. No one really pays attention. People see what they want to see. A saint, a savior, the tapping. It's the only honest thing about me. Kelly grabbed my arm and steered me toward his car. As we pulled away from Little Lambs, I saw Lauren's van parked across the street. Tyler's face appeared in the window for just a second. They were still watching, still waiting. The drive to my apartment was silent except for Kelly's fingers drumming on the steering wheel. Stupid, stupid, stupid. He'd learned Morse code too. Inside my apartment, Kelly watched as I threw clothes into a suitcase. My hands shook as I folded shirts, packed toiletries. My phone sat dead on the dresser, Kelly having removed the battery. "You know she's hurting children," I said as I zipped the suitcase. Kelly shrugged. "Not my problem. She pays well. How can you live with yourself?" "Easy. I think about the money." He checked his watch. 1 hour left. Better hurry. I dragged my suitcase to the living room, then stopped. "I need my laptop for job hunting. It's in my car." Kelly rolled his eyes but followed me to the parking lot. My car sat on 4 new tires, courtesy of my insurance. As I popped the trunk, I saw Tyler's bike leaning against the dumpster. A small package was tucked beneath my spare tire. I palmed the package while grabbing my laptop bag. Kelly was texting, not paying attention. Inside the package was a new memory card and a note. Real footage from Emma's bear. Margaret was wrong about the server. "Get this to Detective Morrison at the station. His daughter is autistic." My heart raced. They'd done it. They'd found a way around the signal jammer, probably using Maya's technical expertise, but I still had to get past Kelly. Back in the apartment, I made a show of checking drawers and cabinets. Kelly grew impatient, tapping his foot. "Hurry up. Traffic's getting bad. Just making sure I have everything. Don't want to come back." I slipped into the bathroom, locking the door behind me. Kelly pounded on it immediately. "No games. You have 30 seconds." I turned on the faucet to mask the sound and carefully opened the memory card package. The card was tiny, easy to hide. I slipped it into my shoe, flushing the packaging down the toilet. "Time's up," Kelly barked. I emerged, looking defeated. "Sorry, just scared." He grabbed my suitcase and marched me to the door. "Margaret's too soft. If it were up to me, you'd already be gone." We headed for his car. That's when I saw them. 3 police cruisers pulling into the daycare parking lot down the street. No sirens, no lights. Detective Morrison's unmarked sedan led the convoy. Kelly saw them too. His face went pale. He yanked out his phone, frantically texting Margaret. "Get in the car. Now. Number." He spun toward me, but I was already running. Not away from the daycare. Toward it. My sneakers slapped against wet pavement as Kelly chased after me. He was bigger, faster, but I had desperation on my side. I burst through the daycare entrance just as Detective Morrison was showing his badge to Margaret. She stood frozen, her fingers finally still. Gary was backing toward the rear exit, camera bag in hand. "Detective, this woman is trespassing," Margaret said, recovering quickly. "She's a disgruntled former employee who's been stalking me." Kelly crashed through the door behind me, breathing hard. "She assaulted me. I want to press charges." Detective Morrison looked between us, his expression unreadable. "Ma'am, we received a report of potential child endangerment. We're here to investigate." "Of course, Detective, I have nothing to hide." Margaret's composure was remarkable. Though I should mention this young woman has a history of mental instability. Her own mother can confirm that. I reached into my shoe, pulling out the memory card. "This has footage from today. Hidden camera evidence." Margaret laughed. "More false evidence?" "Detective, she's obsessed with destroying my reputation." Detective Morrison took the card, studying it. "We'll review everything at the station." He nodded to his officers. "Secure all electronic devices. No one leaves until we've questioned everyone." Gary made a break for the back door. 2 officers intercepted him, camera bag spilling open. Memory cards scattered across the floor like guilty secrets. "Those are legitimate photographs," Margaret insisted. "School portraits. silence. Nothing more. But Emma chose that moment to speak. For the first time in weeks, she opened her mouth and screamed. Not just any scream. A word. Bad, bad, bad. She pointed at Margaret, then at Gary, her small body shaking. Lauren rushed in from outside, scooping up her daughter. Emma buried her face in her mother's shoulder, still chanting, bad, bad, bad. Other parents began arriving, drawn by the police cars. Jaden's grandmother pushed through the crowd, her face set with determination. Detective, I have documentation of unexplained injuries, she announced, producing a folder. Photographs, medical records, all dismissed as accidents. More parents stepped forward. Stories tumbled out. Children who'd changed. Behaviors that didn't make sense. Fears that appeared overnight. Margaret's fingers started moving again. Idiots. All of them. Idiots. She's doing it, I said loudly. The Morse code. She's calling you idiots right now. Tyler appeared at my side. I can translate. My scout troop taught us. He watched Margaret's fingers intently. She's saying she'll destroy all of us. Margaret's hands stilled. For the first time since I'd known her, she looked genuinely shaken. Detective Morrison stepped closer to her. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to come to the station for questioning. This is ridiculous. I want my lawyer. That's your right. He nodded to his officers. Take her in. Separate cars for her and Mr. Roll. As they led Margaret away, she turned to look at me. Her fingers moved one last time. You're dead. But I wasn't scared anymore. We'd done it. The evidence was in police hands. Parents were speaking up. The silence was finally broken. Kelly tried to slip out during the chaos, but Maya appeared in the doorway with 2 officers. That's him. He's the one who hacked our phones and deleted evidence. They arrested Kelly on the spot. My roommate would later tell me she'd grown suspicious of his questions and had been feeding him false information for days. The daycare emptied slowly. Parents collected their children, holding them extra tight. Crime scene tape went up. Evidence techs arrived to process the back room. I stood on the porch, rain soaking through my jacket. Lauren approached, Emma still in her arms. Thank you, she said simply, for believing her, for not giving up. Emma peeked at me from her mother's shoulder. Her fingers moved carefully. Hero. I started crying then. Ugly, gasping sobs that I'd been holding back for weeks. Lauren hugged me with her free arm, and we stood there in the rain, 3 survivors of something no one should have to survive. The investigation took months. The memory card from Emma's bear contained enough evidence to bring federal charges. Gary broke first, admitting everything in exchange for a reduced sentence. He revealed 2 other states where he and Margaret had operated. Margaret tried to maintain her innocence until the end. Even when faced with video evidence, she insisted it was all a misunderstanding. But the jury didn't buy it. 25 years without parole. Kelly got 5 years for cyber crimes and conspiracy. He'd been more involved than we'd realized, helping Margaret identify vulnerable families through social media surveillance. The daycare building stood empty for a while. Parents would drive by and look away. The Victorian house that had once seemed so welcoming now felt cursed. But Lauren had other ideas. She gathered investors, including several affected families. Together, they transformed Little Lambs into something new. A therapy center for children who'd experienced trauma. They hired specialists in play therapy, art therapy, music therapy. They asked me to cut the ribbon at the grand opening. I almost said no. The building held too many dark memories, but Emma changed my mind. She'd started speaking more. Slow progress, but steady. At the opening, she walked up to the microphone. This place helps kids, she said clearly. Good place now. I cut the ribbon with tears streaming down my face. The Victorian house filled with light and laughter again. Children's artwork covered the walls where Margaret's awards once hung. I found my calling after that. I went back to school, studying child psychology with a focus on trauma recognition. I learned the signs I'd missed, the red flags that seemed obvious in hindsight. Now I travel to daycares and schools, teaching staff how to spot abuse, how to listen when children can't use words, how to act when everyone else wants to look away. I still know Morse code. Sometimes in meetings or presentations, I'll tap out messages on the podium, little reminders to myself. Stay vigilant, protect them, never stop listening. Because Margaret was right about one thing. People see what they want to see, but now I teach them to see more, to look closer, to question the saints and saviors who charge too little and smile too much. Every child I help is a victory. Every predator caught is justice. And sometimes, late at night, I think about that torch in the sky all those years ago. How my ex-boyfriend teaching me Morse code to stay connected ended up saving lives. I never thought those dots and dashes would matter. Now I know they were preparing me for exactly this moment, when the world needed someone who could hear the silent screams. The tapping that once filled me with dread has become my weapon. I teach it to children as a game, a secret way to ask for help. Parents learn to recognize the patterns. Teachers know to pay attention. Margaret is in prison, but there are others out there, tapping out their real thoughts while wearing masks of kindness. I'll keep listening, keep watching, keep protecting the ones who can't protect themselves, because that's what heroes do. Even accidental ones who stumbled into their purpose. We stand between the predators and the prey. We hear the silent screams, and we never stop fighting. I stood frozen on the porch, watching the police cars disappear into the rain. Margaret's final threat echoed in my mind. You're dead. My legs felt like rubber as reality crashed down. We'd won the battle, but Margaret had connections everywhere. Lauren touched my shoulder. Come stay with us tonight. It's not safe for you to be alone. I nodded, unable to speak. Emma reached out from her mother's arms, patting my cheek with her small hand. Her fingers moved slowly. Safe now. We drove to Lauren's house in silence. Tyler sat in the back, texting Maya updates. Through the rearview mirror, I watched him coordinate with our group. Everyone needed to know Margaret was in custody before they could breathe again. Lauren's home smelled like vanilla candles and laundry detergent. Normal things. Safe things. She settled Emma on the couch with cartoons while Tyler made hot chocolate. My hands shook so badly I could barely hold the mug. We need to talk about what happens next, Lauren said quietly. Margaret's arrest is just the beginning. There will be questions, investigations, media attention. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but Lauren nodded encouragingly. It was Detective Morrison. I need you at the station first thing tomorrow, he said without preamble. We've reviewed the memory card. It's extensive. How many more victims do you think there are? Dozens, I whispered. Maybe more. She's been doing doing this for 15 years. He sighed heavily. We're setting up a tip line. Word's already spreading. My phone hasn't stopped ringing. After he hung up, I stared at my phone. Missed calls from numbers I didn't recognize. Texts from parents whose children attended Little Lambs. Everyone wanted answers I didn't have. Tyler's phone chimed. He read the message, his face paling. Gary's lawyer is claiming entrapment, says we planted evidence. That's ridiculous, Lauren snapped. We have Emma's footage, the bruises on Jaden, years of documentation, but I knew how these things worked. Good lawyers could twist anything, make victims look like liars, turn heroes into villains. Margaret had money, connections. She wouldn't go down without a fight. The next morning came too quickly. Lauren drove me to the police station, Emma secured in her car seat. The parking lot was already filling with news vans. Reporters clustered near the entrance, microphones ready. There she is, someone shouted. Cameras swung toward us, questions bombarded from all directions. Did you know about the abuse before yesterday? Why didn't you report it sooner? How many children were victimized? Lauren shielded me as we pushed through the crowd. Inside, Detective Morrison waited with a grim expression. He led us to a small conference room where Maya sat with her laptop. We've been working all night, Maya said, dark circles under her eyes. I recovered more deleted files from various devices. It's worse than we thought. She turned the laptop screen toward us. Spreadsheets filled with children's names, dates, coded entries that made my stomach turn. Margaret had kept meticulous records, never imagining they'd be used against her. We've identified 43 potential victims so far, Detective Morrison said. Some have aged out, others moved away. We need to contact every family. I spent hours in that room, going through photos, identifying children, providing context for Margaret's coded language. Each name was another weight on my chest, another child I'd failed to protect. You didn't fail them, Detective Morrison said firmly, reading my expression. You stopped her. That took courage. But it didn't feel like courage. It felt like too little, too late. By afternoon, the tip line had logged over 100 calls. Former employees came forward with stories. Parents who'd suspected something but been too afraid to speak up. The scope of Margaret's operation was staggering. Kelly's apartment was searched. They found hard drives hidden in his closet, thousands of images, videos, financial records showing payments from buyers across multiple states. This wasn't just abuse, it was trafficking. We need to put you in protective custody, Detective Morrison said. These people, Margaret's clients, they won't want you testifying. I thought about running, disappearing, letting someone else fight this battle. But then I remembered Emma's terrified face, Jaden's bruises, all those children who couldn't speak for themselves. No, I said, I'm not hiding. They need to see that someone will stand up to them. The following days blurred together. Interviews with federal agents, meetings with prosecutors, more victims coming forward. The news coverage was relentless, painting Margaret as a monster who'd hidden behind her reputation. But her lawyer was good. He challenged every piece of evidence, claimed the videos were deepfakes, said I'd orchestrated everything out of jealousy, that I'd manipulated vulnerable parents into believing lies. Tyler testified about the memory card swap. Margaret's lawyer tore into him, a teenager against a seasoned professional. But Tyler held firm, translating her Morse code messages from memory, even demonstrated how she'd tap out insults while smiling at parents. Maya presented her technical evidence, digital forensics that proved the images were real, metadata showing dates and times. The lawyer tried to discredit her, saying teenagers could fabricate anything with computers these days. Then came Emma's testimony. The prosecutor had fought to allow it, arguing she could communicate through Morse code. The judge agreed, appointing Tyler as translator. Emma sat in a special chair, her teddy bear clutched tight. Her fingers moved against the bear's fur as she answered questions. Tyler's voice was steady as he translated her tapping. She said bad things, did bad things, took pictures, hurt us. Margaret's composure finally cracked. She started tapping frantically on the defense table. The prosecutor asked Tyler to translate. She's saying we're all liars, that she'll destroy us, that she has friends who will. I won't repeat that part. The judge ordered Margaret's hands restrained. She sat there silent for the first time, her weapon taken away. Jaden's grandmother testified next. Medical records, photos of bruises, a pediatrician who'd been told he was clumsy, but suspected more. One by one, families shared their stories. The pattern was undeniable. Then came the financial evidence. Kelly had been sloppy. Bank transfers to offshore accounts, cryptocurrency transactions, payments that coincided with picture days. The trafficking ring extended far beyond our small town. Margaret's cousin Gary broke completely. Faced with life in prison, he detailed everything. How they'd identified vulnerable families, targeted special needs children who couldn't easily communicate, built trust with parents desperate for affordable care. He named names, buyers, other daycare owners in the network, centers in 3 states that operated the same way. The FBI raid that followed made national news. During a recess, my mother approached me in the courthouse hallway. She looked older, fragile. Her hands shook as she reached for me. I'm sorry, she whispered. I should have believed you. She's my sister, but I should have known. I let her hug me, felt her tears on my shoulder, but something inside me had broken. Trust, once shattered, was hard to rebuild. The trial lasted 3 weeks. 3 weeks of testimony, evidence, tears. Margaret never took the stand. Her lawyer advised against it, but her fingers never stopped moving, tapping against her legs even with her hands cuffed. When the verdict came, I held Lauren's hand. Emma sat on her mother's lap, fingers still. The foreman stood, paper trembling in his hands. Guilty. All counts. The courtroom erupted. Parents sobbed. Margaret's face went white. As they led her away, she turned to look at me one last time. Her fingers moved slowly, deliberately. See you soon. The sentencing came a month later. 25 years without parole. Gary got 15. Kelly got 5. Others in the network faced their own trials, but it wasn't over. Margaret's threats hadn't been empty. 2 days after sentencing, my apartment was broken into. Nothing stolen, but everything moved slightly. A message. They knew where I lived. Detective Morrison increased patrols, installed security cameras, but I couldn't live in fear forever. Lauren offered a solution. Help us with the therapy center, she said. Live on site as a counselor. Security, purpose, and healing all in one. I accepted immediately. Moved into the converted Victorian that had once housed such darkness. happiness. We gutted the back room, painted everything in bright colors, filled it with toys and books and hope. Opening day arrived faster than expected. Parents brought their children hesitantly. Some recognized me from the trial. Others knew me only as the woman who'd stopped Margaret. Emma cut the ribbon with safety scissors, her voice clear and strong. Good place now, safe place. Children filled the rooms. Art therapy, music therapy, play therapy. Slowly, carefully, they began to heal. Some had been Margaret's victims. Others came from different traumas. All needed help finding their voices. I led communication workshops, taught parents to recognize signs, showed children how to ask for help in different ways. Morse code became our secret language, transformed from weapon to shield. 3 months in, a package arrived. No return address. Inside, a photo of me at the therapy center. Red X drawn over my face. I gave it to Detective Morrison, but we all knew Margaret still had loyal friends. The threats continued. Dead flowers on my car. Hang-up calls at strange hours. Once, someone spray-painted LIAR on the therapy center door. We painted over it, installed better locks, kept going. 6 months after the trial, Detective Morrison called with news. 3 more daycare networks had been exposed. Dozens of arrests. Children rescued. Our case had opened floodgates. You started something, he said. They're calling it the Margaret effect. Predators who hid behind charity work are being exposed everywhere. I thought about all those children. The ones we'd saved. The ones we'd been too late for. The ones still out there waiting for someone to hear their silent screams. A year passed. Emma spoke in full sentences now. Jaden's bruises had long faded. Other children made progress in their own ways. The therapy center expanded, hiring more counselors, serving more families. I still lived on site, still checked locks twice, still startled at unexpected sounds. Margaret's network hadn't forgotten me, but neither had the children we'd saved. One evening, as I locked up after a late session, Tyler appeared at the door. He was taller now, more confident, college applications in hand. I'm writing my essay about that day, he said, about how spilling juice changed everything, how one small action can ripple outward. I smiled, remembering his nervous performance, his quick fingers swapping memory cards. A teenager who'd risked everything to save children he didn't even know. What are you going to study? I asked. Criminal justice. Maybe FBI. I want to catch people like Margaret before they hurt anyone. After he left, I stood in the empty therapy room. Moonlight filtered through windows where children's artwork hung, finger paintings of families, crayon drawings of safe places, hope in primary colors. My phone buzzed. Lauren, sending a video of Emma reading to her stuffed animals, using words she'd been too terrified to speak 2 years ago. Healing happened slowly, but it happened.